When we look back at the 6th generation of video game consoles, so we're looking at the Dreamcast, which does count, the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, and the Gamecube, it was a great time for sports video game fans like myself. We saw multiple publishers making sports games across different sports, across all of the platforms. It was great. We had the 2K series, we had EA doing its thing, we had first parties like Microsoft and Nintendo and Sony also publishing their own games. Konami was in the game for a little while. We had a bunch of different choices, and life was good. But something that we tend to forget is, despite the fact that the PlayStation pretty much ran away with Gen 6, and that sports games for the Xbox were very common, we don't talk about the GameCube too much, and I really don't understand why that is, because Electronic Arts supported the GameCube a lot during that console generation, with multiple versions of Madden, of NHL, of MVP Baseball, and of NCAA Football, including the first game for the GameCube, NCAA Football 2003, with Oregon's Joey Harrington on the cover. And I mention this as we saw 2 Oregon quarterbacks going at each other tonight in Thursday Night Football with Justin Herbert and Marcus Mariota. So I thought that was pretty interesting and really a great segue to talk about this. It's unfortunate that we don't talk a lot about sports games in the GameCube because the GameCube was relevant, with the exception of Sega Sports, unfortunately, where after the 2003 sports year, development went on the Xbox and the PlayStation 2 only. So we didn't see NFL football or ESPN NFL 2K5 or NBA 2K5 or any of those, which is really a shame. But EA really picked up the slack. And it's important to note that their starts really out of the gate, I thought, were pretty impressive. This plays like the PlayStation 2 version or the Xbox version, and I think that the visuals look pretty good as we take a look at some of the screenshots here. Again, keeping in mind that this is the first full year of development that EA had with the series, so I think that the game is decent. The big problem with the game is the memory card space. I'm not sure if you can see it there, but it's 224 blocks, which means that you need to have an expanded memory card in order to save your progress. This is a problem more with the GameCube and the GameCube technology than it is with the sports game itself. PlayStation 2 memory cards were 8 megabytes in size and sometimes larger, so you'd be able to save all this information, whereas with GameCube memory cards, they held less information, and of course, we talked about blocks more than megabytes of information with these. But don't let the memory card problem fool you that much, because honestly, what's under the hood here, I think, holds up pretty well. The spirit of college football is definitely here in this first NCAA football game for the GameCube, and there is a laundry list of features here, including the college game. Feel all of the pageantry with over 200 fight songs, 3D cheerleaders, and 144 Division 1A and 1AA schools. My favorite team, personalize the game interface based on your team's fight song, mascot, logos, and school colors. College football fans are rabid fans, and they love their alma mater or whatever college football team they are rooting for. So having that kind of customization was definitely a big deal. Build a dynasty. Create your own school and schedule. Recruit star athletes and redshirt developing players to develop a national powerhouse. That's cool. I'm not as deep into college sports as some are, but having the ability to make your own school, to do all of your signing out of high school, all of your scouting and things like that, people get really into those things, and NCAA football provides that atmosphere for those players that really want to go in depth. Rivalry Mode, beat your school's arch rival and win of 23 coveted trophies. So they have real trophies like the Iron Bowl trophy and some other like the Red River Trophy, I believe, the Red River Shootout, and some other college rivalries that are very, very popular. And the trophy room is here. Display over 100 total trophies, including conference championships and individual player awards such as the Heisman Memorial Trophy. The Heisman Trophy is listed here. It is officially licensed, so it adds that element of authenticity to the game. Also, what's interesting about this game is that Brad Nessler and Kirk Herbstreit and Lee Corso are providing commentary in the game. That is the popular team from ESPN, so although this doesn't have the ESPN license that belonged to Sega, They were able to use some real commentators from ESPN, and they do a really great job calling these games. So, without further ado, I have my magic scissors right here. We're going to go ahead and open this game up. We're going to take a look at what's on the inside. It is cold outside, to let you know. It is. We just had our first major snowstorm here in southern New England, so if you hear my heat kick on, I apologize, but that is something I really can't control. I don't want to be overly cold because it's like 12 degrees outside. There we go. I think I've got it. There, okay. So let's take the cover off. I've been sitting on this for a while. I had meant to do it at the beginning of the college football season, and then, well, real life happened. Plus, of course, the pandemic happened and pushed back the start of the season. But we're doing it now. And it's great to be able to open GameCube games because I don't have that many of them to open. They are quite expensive to get these days. And I actually found a pretty good deal on eBay for this particular copy. When we open this up, I'm always careful to open these because I'm worried that the discs are going to fall out. If you don't remember or haven't seen what a Nintendo GameCube looks like, it is a very tiny, like a mini disc right here, and you can see that it's in black and white with Joey Harrington on the front, just like the artwork. There are some things on the other side as well, and we'll take a look at all of that stuff right now. We have the warranty card right here. Register with EA, or you could just go online at www.register.ea.com. Or you can fill out this card. You do have to put a stamp on it. And they do ask you some basic questions like your email address, your name, address, city, state, so on and so forth. The systems that you own. So do you own a PlayStation, a PS2, an N64, a PC, a GameCube, an Xbox? You can also check here down at the bottom if you want to receive stuff from EA.com as well. By this time, by 2002, the internet was a bit more prevalent, despite the fact that we were still split between cable and dial-up, so more and more people were registering their games online instead of putting these stamps on these cards to be able to mail in. We also have, just like we do with every Nintendo GameCube game, we have this list here of precautions that no one ever read, and a lot of these kind of just get thrown away, talking about repetitive motion injuries and about seizures and electric shock and all of these things that might happen, although usually they didn't. And here's the instruction manual. It's a bit on the thin side, just like the cases are. There is an ad here for Madden 2003. The best gets better, at least that's what this says, and they do list some more of the features, like Minicamp mode is announced here. Al Michaels joins the announce team along with John Madden. The Create a Playbook is here, the deepest franchise mode ever, and enhanced gameplay. Those are all promised. I'd love to be able to land the Madden games for the GameCube at some point. Maybe next year I'll try and shoot for those. When we open up the instruction manual, it is in black and white, unfortunately. That's what we see on the inside. There's your look at the GameCube controller. If you've not seen it before, now you have seen it. It is that really strange layout. If you're playing multi-platform games, maybe the GameCube controller isn't the best one to use. At least that's my personal opinion. Although the analog triggers are very nice on the GameCube controllers, I tend to stick to something that's closer to the DualShock, like the DualShock 2 or the Xbox's Controller S. So we talk about the introduction here, and we have all of these features listed, like I mentioned on the back of the box. So the college spirit is here with 116 Division 1A program teams or programs, 50 different mascots leading crowds and team-specific chants, 200 unique fight songs. They really did a great job of nailing the college football experience and pageantry. Electronic Arts did, and it really shows here. Bunch of trophies you can earn. The Rivalry Games are here. Different moves like running an option, performing play fakes, spin moves, 1-foot toe drags, and more. Listen to the refs call echo through their stadium and hear the reaction of the fans, so the sound has been improved here. Nestler, Herb Street, and Corso, keeping the commentary fresh from game to game. And of course, you can create your own school, which is a pretty big deal. We do have the basic controls listed over here on this side, and then we have some more advanced controls, or the complete controls, listed here as well. And you can also check out some of the mascots on all of the different pages. And another page full of controls. Again, you can play with basic controls and play against a friend and you're in pretty good shape. But if you're playing against a seasoned NCAA football player, you would do well to check out what all of the various controls are. I like this kick meter, by the way. I don't have any particular rhyme or reason. It's just something that I'm used to. Some football games have tried to reinvent the wheel with their kick meters or their kicking game, but I like it to be simple and very much based on timing. So once you select your favorite team, off you go. You can select your stadium as well. There's a Play Now mode here. You can take a look at your play calling screen, and again, it looks just like Madden because it's basically just like Madden, but the playbook is different because there are college plays sprinkled here and there as opposed to the more pro set plays that you see in Madden. So other game modes include Season Mode, which is just playing through one college football season. There's Dynasty Mode where you're playing through multiple seasons, and this is the big get for a lot of college football fans, is they take their favorite schools or maybe a school that they're inventing from the bottom to the top and then maybe back to the bottom, and it all kind of oscillates based on the talent that you've signed. What else do we have here? The Rivalry Games, which I thought were pretty neat. So many different rivalries in college football, and to have so many of them represented in an official game is a pretty big deal, especially for hardcore fans. Create a School is here, as I had mentioned. You can set up your own stadium. You can call it what you want. You can set different kind of stadium information. You can create a player, which I always do. I always put myself in all of these games, and if I'm being honest, totally honest, I create my player with full stats. For sports games, for me, sometimes it's just playing that power fantasy. And I've talked about this on video before, but one of the reasons I love sports games so much is because physically, I am no athlete at all. I'm lucky I can walk in a straight line. But in a video game, it lets me be the athlete I always wanted to be, whether it was a star quarterback or a running back or a basketball player or a golfer, anything like that. Being able to play out that fantasy in my head is a pretty big deal to me, which is why I've loved sports games for so very long. You can adjust a bunch of different settings, including penalty settings, which you really have to play with in order to get them to feel more realistic or lifelike. The big problem I've always had with Madden, with NCAA, is that defensively, when you're playing defense, you're going to get run over in one or the other. Usually I shut the rushing attack down, where I allow like 50 yards rushing by the other team, but passing-wise, they always seem to be able to get something over on my secondary. I'm allowing a ton of pass yards. I've never been great at playing in the secondary in any of these football games. Maybe that's something I should work on, but I feel that if my front seven is strong and I am shutting down the run game, then I can get lucky with a couple of passes and might let my offense do the rest of the work. So this was the first of the NCAA football games for the Gamecube. Again, NCAA, Madden, NBA Live, NHL, NASCAR. You had all of the major franchises, all of the major sports on the Gamecube. And again, that was such a big deal because it didn't matter what console you had, you were being represented. After the Gamecube, well, things kind of struggled a little bit. We did see Madden for the Wii. We did see one NCAA football game. We saw like a couple of NBA Live games. What we really saw was we saw Tiger Woods. We saw the golf games like pretty much every year. But we didn't have the same level of consistent support for the Wii that we saw for the GameCube. And then with the Wii U and finally the Switch, EA support went downhill and eventually just away completely, which is really unfortunate. I always believe, I will firmly believe that sports games like NFL, like NCAA, like FIFA, like NHL need to be platform agnostic. They need to be available for all platforms so that everyone has a chance to be able to play these games and enjoy them. Because honestly, sports games are a lot of fun to play. Now, I am partial to these older games, of course. That is part of what the Retro Referee is. But honestly, whether they're simulation, whether they're arcade, no matter what sport is being represented, everyone should have the opportunity to live out those fantasies, or at the very least be able to play a part on their favorite football or baseball or hockey or basketball team. I think that that is a very big deal. And maybe someday EA will come back to Nintendo. I'll keep my fingers crossed. Until the next time, my friends, take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks for watching this episode of Unsealed. I really appreciate it. We'll do it again really soon, just before Christmas. Take care.